The 2025 Major League Baseball playoffs kicked off yesterday on Tuesday with the wild card round. All four matchups occurred yesterday, all four game ones. The New York Yankees beat the Boston Red Sox in the American League 3-1. The Chicago Cubs beat the San Diego Padres over in the National League 3-1. The Detroit Tigers beat the Cleveland Guardians in the American League 2-1. So all close games there in those first three games. And then the night game out in LA, the Los Angeles Dodgers took care of business against the Cincinnati Reds. They beat them 10-5. So the Yankees, Cubs, Tigers, and Dodgers are all up 1-0 heading into today's action here on Wednesday for all four game twos of the wild card. If all four of those teams win, all four of those teams move on to the divisional series in their respective leagues. Game threes will happen on Thursday if needed for any of those four series. Welcome into Phillies Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Kennelly. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Now, before I get into a little bit more of what happened yesterday, specifically in the Dodgers-Reds game, we got some news yesterday for the Philadelphia Phillies that Matt Strahm, their lefty reliever, all-star in 2024, will be returning to the Phillies next year in 2026. He had a $7.5 million option, which became guaranteed because he passed the physical, and he reached 60 innings here in 2025. This will now be his fourth season with the Phillies. Not his best season here in 2025, a little bit of a roller coaster type of season, especially considering what he did in 2024. Still, pretty solid season for Matt Strahm. He had a 2.74 ERA with 70 strikeouts and a 208 batting average against in 62 and a third innings here in 2025. Again, a little bit of a roller coaster season for him, but that's really how the Phillies bullpen went here in 2025. Just not the cleanest of games for them, but he was still very solid. One of their better options there late in ball games and high leverage situations for the Phillies all year long. Going back to 2024, again, I mentioned he was an all-star, terrific year for Matt Strahm. He had a sub-2 ERA, a 1.87, 79 strikeouts, and just a 166 batting average against in 62 and two-thirds innings back in 2024 last year. Again, all-star for Matt Strahm. A little bit of a down season here in 2025, but he will be returning to the Phillies with a $7.5 million option for 2026. So hopefully he can rebound a little bit, be a little bit more consistent. Hopefully has a good playoff run here for the Phillies as well, and then get into 2026 back to where, or even close to what he was at least last year in 2024 at an all-star reliever type of level. Now getting back into the playoffs a little bit, Dodgers, Reds, that series determines who plays the Phillies in the National League Divisional Series in the NLDS starting Saturday at home at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies obviously were the number 2 seed, first round bye, and not playing in the wild card round. They do have the advantage of home field advantage in this first series. They have home field advantage throughout the National League playoffs if they don't face the Milwaukee Brewers, who have the number 1 seed. But they will be hosting either the Dodgers or the Reds. The Dodgers up 1-0 in the series, trying to move on and play the Phillies on Saturday in the NLDS with a win here today on Tuesday. Dodgers really took care of business pretty easily, pretty commandingly against the Reds. Now, the Reds did have a little bit of a late comeback there, and specifically in the 8th inning, made it very interesting, but just too much to overcome. The Dodgers scored 5 runs through the first 3 innings, led 8-0 after 6 innings. They hit 5 home runs last night. Shohei Ohtani, obviously their superstar player, most likely MVP of the National League. He hit 2 home runs. Teoscar Hernandez, another very good player for the Dodgers, he hit 2 home runs as well himself last night. So 5 total home runs for the Dodgers. They showed their power. They showed their superstar prowess there in that 10-5 victory over the Cincinnati Reds. Blake Snell, their starting pitcher, also dominated. He's one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball. Dominated the Reds offense. He went 7 innings, allowed just 4 hits, 1 walk, 2 earned runs, and struck out 9 batters in that win over the Reds. Again, the Reds did make it interesting, just too much to overcome for their team on the road in a tough place in LA and Dodger Stadium against a very, very, very good Dodgers team. The winner, obviously, like I said, will play the Phillies in the NLDS starting on Saturday at Citizens Bank Park. So it's looking like, unfortunately, it might be the Dodgers. However, the Phillies did have some success here. They won the season series against the Dodgers this year. They won the season series against the Dodgers last year as well. So they do have success against the Dodgers, but you'd rather see them not have to face a superstar team like that. but you do know that the Phillies are able to beat them, and the Phillies do have home field advantage in that best of 5 series in the NLDS. We'll see what happens. Maybe the Reds win today. Maybe they force a game 3 for tomorrow on Thursday, and they somehow upset the Dodgers there, and the Phillies face them. We'll see what happens, but still, Dodgers 10-5 win over the Reds to kick off game 1 of that wild card round against them. Speaking of that, the Phillies are going to have to play fundamental, smart baseball. It seems a little bit silly to say that for a Major League Baseball team, but come playoff time, it's October right now, October 1st, playoff baseball, great time of the year, but you are going up against the best talent in Major League Baseball, pitching, bullpens, offenses, defense, all that stuff. You have to be playing 110% baseball, smart fundamental baseball. You can't be making mistakes. We've seen the Phillies offense go cold throughout stretches, which just can't happen. We've seen the bullpen obviously be a weakness for most of the season here in 2025. We've seen them make some boneheaded errors in the field, just simple mistakes that can't happen. They have to play fundamental baseball, especially if they end up facing a team like the Dodgers starting on Saturday in the NLDS. Specifically, the Phillies really just can't bank on their power, bank on these home runs, bank on these long balls. We all know this lineup is very powerful. They're a slugging type of offense, the Phillies. They can hit home runs like no other with Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. All of those guys can really just change the game with their bat, with a long ball, but they can't bank on that. They have to be playing situational baseball, situational hitting, good base running, use your speed, steal bases, bunt guys over, sack flies, all that kind of stuff. Hit it to the opposite field to advance the runner from maybe first to third, or just get him over to third base in scoring position, and then obviously come through in the clutch with a base hit with runners in scoring position, or sack flies, or any of that kind of stuff. Just have to be playing smart, fundamental baseball if they are going to win these ball games in the playoffs and move on in a deep playoff run. Hopefully that ends in a World Series championship. Again, seems a little silly to say, but that's just what has to happen. We've seen their offense go into these cold stretches. We saw it happen last year in the playoffs. Really, nobody, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 guys, did well in that National League Divisional Series against the Mets, where they lost in 4 games. Offense was cold. Bullpen wasn't great, even though they had 2 all-star relievers last year in Matt Strahm and Jeff Hoffman. Carlos Estevez was also a very good reliever in 2024 for them and the Angels before the Phillies brought him over. But just all fell apart for them last year, and they had to play a lot better at baseball. They can't be messing things up like they did last year in the NLDS against the Mets, or else it's going to be another early exit, and they are going to go into the offseason with huge organizational questions, and it's just not going to be a fun offseason if they aren't playing their best baseball here. Luckily, they did go into the playoffs a little bit hot. They weren't really that hot last year, so maybe that's going to be a difference for them. Still had this first round bye, which sometimes proves costly to these teams in baseball, not playing every day, staying in your rhythm, staying in your groove. They do have an inter-squad game, so that should be a little bit of help. That should be also fun for fans who are allowed to attend that, so if you're going to that, enjoy. But still, have to be playing their best baseball here, especially if they end up facing the Dodgers here starting on Saturday in the NLDS. And I believe that really all starts with Trey Turner at the top of the order. He is really one of the Phillies' biggest X factors in these playoffs, in my opinion. Had a very good, pretty much really underrated season for the Phillies this year here in 2025. He obviously won the National League batting title with a .304 batting average. He was speedy, had stolen bases, got a bunch of base hits, didn't necessarily rely on his power, which was good to see because that allowed him to just get these base hits, multi-hit games after multi-hit games. It was good stuff. He was a great leadoff hitter for them, one of the best leadoff hitters in Major League Baseball this year. Wasn't an all-star, but honestly should have been. He was an all-star last year, all-star game starter last year for the Phillies. But very good season for Trey Turner, and I think, like I said, everything starts with Trey Turner here for the Phillies in these playoffs. He has to use his speed at the top of the order. He has to keep on getting his base hits. He didn't really have success last year in the NLDS against the Mets for the Phillies in the playoffs, as did most of these guys didn't really, besides, like I said, 2 or 3 guys. Trey Turner was just 3 for 15, which is a .200 batting average last year in that 4-game series against the Mets in the NLDS. He was chasing way too many pitches, just not having good at-bats, and he can't be having a repeat of that, especially at the top of the Phillies batting order here. And again, against very good playoff teams. You're not going to be playing teams like the Colorado Rockies. You're not going to be playing those bad teams. You are playing the best of the best starting pitching, the best bullpens, going up against the best offenses, the best defenses. So you have to play this smart fundamental baseball. You have to use your speed. You have to get on base. You have to have these base hits, not just bank on home runs. And again, that really starts with Trey Turner, who did all of that for the Phillies here in 2025. We still have a few more days until the Phillies do kick off their playoff run here on Saturday. So keep on enjoying playoff baseball. Keep on enjoying this kind of stress-free kind of days before we are watching the Phillies in red October. It's fun, it's exciting, but it is stressful. So enjoy the next couple days. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Phillies Daily. I'm your host, Mike Kennelly. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Again, thank you guys for watching, and as always, go Phils.